There we go. Kia ora koutou. When this journey began in 2009, ebooks were barely on the radar in New Zealand. Overdrive was attractive enough in its digital audio offering to set the Association of Public Library Managers, APLM, down the track of a nationwide collaborative journey into the digital lending space. Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch had already got it alone with Overdrive, but it was simply out of the question for the rest of the country to afford it on a standalone basis. As the protracted negotiation process unfolded, moving at regulation local government speed, the popular ebook phenomenon exploded in the Northern Hemisphere. By the time negotiations wound up in mid-2011, discussions about Overdrive had transformed to be all about ebooks. The timing of this mass arrival in New Zealand was critical. For me, the e-reader and tablet were the gift du jour for Christmas 2011. To have ebooks in place prior to that was an important step in ensuring the local library was front and centre in the ebook reading public's mind as a source of e-reading material. Maybe I could repeat that statement all over again for Christmas 2012, but hey, I'm sure we've got a long way to go to catch the likes of Amazon and iBooks, but relative to the resources they have to throw at marketing, I think we're doing all right. As one of the instigators and drivers for the APLM negotiations, along with Annette Beattie from Hutt City Libraries, I increasingly found myself in the position of ebooks expert that many of my library manager colleagues turned to for advice. To ensure the success of that project, I needed to be able to answer their questions reasonably intelligently, of which there were many questions. I'm sure any of you have worked on large collaborative projects. Try to imagine the scale of dealing with all library managers in the country on varying stages of ebook knowledge, most of them at the lower end. I'm not offending anybody in the audience. I'm sure you'll agree with me though. I mean, where do you go with a question like, Paul, why do we want ebooks when we haven't got an OPAC or a website? I did say this was quite a while ago in 2009, right? The timing also coincided with the growth of the Aotearoa People's Network Kaharoa, which has transformed the public library digital landscape and the skill set of library staff. So it was out of reach to all but the big three of Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch on a go-it-alone basis. Plus, they, as existing individual customers, were unable to join any consortial group as well. This was a publisher restrictions that they would enter into no national arrangements at that time. So the three regional consortia were devised, the Upper North Island, Lower North Island and the South Island. Despite that change, we were able to hold individual subscription rates for all libraries, and they were also held for the 4-year duration of the contract in New Zealand dollars, not in US dollars. For example, for Hauraki, it's costing us 1,900 New Zealand dollars a year, as opposed to initial go-it-alone quotes of $30,000 and around $10,000 a couple of years before as part of a Waikato-wide group deal. So, over 40 public libraries across the country got across the line with Overdrive in late 2011. Wheeler's late appearance on the scene saw a number opt for their offering instead. The important part is that around 55 public libraries now offer ebooks in New Zealand. The Overdrive consortia operate on a shared collections basis to maximise coverage for the many small players. The larger partners in the region are happy to effectively subsidise their smaller partners as they recognise that they benefit from a larger pool of resources as well. So if you take the ebooks part out of the equation, what we have is, I think, unprecedented scale of collaborative collection management in New Zealand terms. And we well know that our future is all going to be about successful collaboration. Personally, the timing of this journey coincided with our library migrating to Koha library management system. That experience and the knowledge that I gained through participation in a free open source software community resonated with my personal and professional philosophies and helped me form what I think is a well-rounded view of developments in the ebook space. My involvement with ebooks didn't stop following the launch of those three consortia. Before Christmas, you may remember some hideous pink t-shirts at the most recent conference, where we were piloting the tour of the the summer with library ebooks, and then this year's E2Experts train the trainer sessions with Sally Pefarangi of Finding Heroes. So today is my fifth, dare I say last, but I'll probably say never, ebook presentation this year based on the personal and professional observations I've come across. And I thought needed wider exposure and understanding amongst the general library population. The more things have changed, the more they stay the same would probably be a good way to describe development since February this year. And I certainly have an idea of how the librarian in black feels when she blogged about breaking up with ebooks because they're a bad boyfriend. So going by the feedback I've received from those experiences, from a variety of audiences, I think the general library population has agreed with me. This is a good thing, and that what I've had to say has hit the mark and is needed, but it's a bad thing in that nothing still has really changed. So here I am today, a self-educated expert. Ebooks are great, just another format. Got our long tradition of hardback, paperback, large print audio, serving the whole public. They don't take up a heck a lot of physical space. There's heaps of potential for print and hearing impaired readers. Excuse me. And there's got to be really big potential in the backlist category, both backlist and current for New Zealand. Maybe even one platform to rule them all with a New Zealand-wide licence. Ebooks never die, certainly in the same way that print books do. And ebooks are so hot right now. It's great for libraries to be seen as a key player at the forefront of a technological revolution. Plus, people are coming back to reading. We don't care how or what, but they're reading, right? A little snapshot. Stats tell the story, I think. I told you they're hot. That's from the Northern Virtual e-Library, our Upper North Island consortium, so it's pretty clear where that track is going. Plus, thanks to E2Experts, we have 247 ebook ninjas, way hipper than the Vodafone ninjas, trained across the country. Ebooks, they're not so great either. They aren't just another format without a special device and an internet connection, probably not going to be a heck of a lot of use to you. We all know that there's not enough titles. Getting rid of regional licensing would be a great start for little old New Zealand. We don't own them. I don't think I need to add anything more to that. We're well and truly at the mercy of third-party vendors, suppliers and publishers. Came across a great tweet recently from Kevin Marks of the Open Rights Group. How is it that copyrights last 70 years after death, but licenses expire at death? And the answer was, it's all about the money. DRM, it's not digital rights management, it's digital restrictions management. The protection of copyrighted digital content by means of technological systems that restrict its use and distribution. Corey Doctorow summed it up pretty nicely. Digital restrictions management always converges on malware, and Overdrive's much maligned clunkiness is due to the fact that it's supporting DRM. A bottom line, dealing with pirated ebooks is easier than legal ones. The best way to fight piracy is convenience, deal once, enjoy forever. And ebooks are so hot right now. Again, that's absolutely a double-edged sword. So there's so much attention focused onto this, and it's changing so fast that we need to get it right and get it right quick, or libraries can risk being consigned to digital oblivion. The relevance of all of that DRM to libraries, and on our backyard at the moment, the TPP negotiations around copyright, goes straight to core principles of libraries of open access to information and knowledge, trying to remove barriers between people and information. By buying and subscribing to services that employ the likes of DRM, we're acting contrary to our own point of existence and complicit in the continued use of that technology. What the hell do we do now? The good news is we have been doing it. There's been plenty of advocates from within and without library circles been talking about this stuff for a long time. In the library blog space, think the free-range librarian, the librarian in black, librarian by day, library web head, library renewal, and the Swiss Army librarian. The American Library Association has been in talks with representatives from the big 6 publishers. The New Zealand Publishers Association has made approaches to LIANZA and the National Library, and things are progressing. We are cooperating. The free-range librarian, I'm pretty sure I saw Karen here coined the term the e-reading ecology. I think that's what it's all about. It focuses on the reader, talks about what libraries bring to the table, connecting people with books and authors. We need to recognise this as a reading ecology problem in a fight for the right to read, not just a public library problem, and we're all part of that reading ecology. In lay terms, that could be what we do for publishers and authors, from library webhead, librarian by day. Libraries have always provided the value-added service of free marketing and reputation building. As we move further into the world of digital media, reputation becomes a key asset. Forbes magazine declared that the era of branding is over. Reputation is everything. If there's something libraries have got, we've got reputation. Our traditional strength of readers' advisory work and connecting readers with authors is what stands us perfectly well to maximise this in the digital space. The reading ecology concept identifies all stakeholders in the equation, not just publishers and libraries, but authors and readers. And this is a key distinction. There's evidence to support it. Data from the Library Journal and Bowker PubTrack consumer reports show that over 50% of all library users report purchasing books by an author they were introduced to at the library, debunking the myth that when a library buys a book, the publisher loses future sales. Instead, it confirms that the public library not only incubate and support literacy, as is well understood in our culture, but as an active partner in the publishing industry, building the book market, not to mention the burgeoning e-book market. Sounds like a reasonable value proposition for the New Zealand Inc. value chain. So the growing self-awareness of libraries' value, plus our reputation and standing in the reading ecology, offers significant potential for libraries to hold sway in determining their own future. For public libraries especially, we know that we're part of something bigger than ourselves, the sum of its parts and all that. By emphasising the multifaceted aspect and placing the best interests of readers at the centre rather than ourselves, but that's what we're doing by extension, I think there's chance for success. But progress has been too slow. Overdrive's much touted new browser-based reading interface is bypassing Adobe Digital Editions is fantastic and is apparently due out before Christmas, but might be a little bit of a scoop, but Alan and Unwin have joined the stupid restriction bandwagon by insisting that you now have to buy multiple copies if you serve a population of over 300,000 people. You probably do that, but that's your decision, right? So how the hell do we do it? We can be impartial and informative, not favour suppliers, products, publishers over the others. That certainly doesn't mean we can't speak our mind. Tell the public what publishers are doing to libraries and by extension to them. We're not picking on anyone, we're just communicating to our users the situations that we're operating in. Can champion readers' rights, the things like the ebook users' Bill of Rights from the librarian in black, and a fantastic recent ebook position statement from the National Library of Sweden called Say Hello to Your New Librarian. We need to, and we are engaging with publishers and authors. New Zealand was a purposeful strategic delay to get into ebooks in a big way till 2011-12, to let the US and UK colleagues do all the hard work for us. They've learned all the hard lessons and showed us what to do. We need to support open standards. EPUB would seem to be the only way to go, linking back to that tradition of it just being another format. And we have to be device agnostic. We don't want to, since we're at our pony, back the wrong horse in that particular race. Otherwise, if that's all predicated on on amending the existing system, which, let's face it, is at least a little bit broke. There has to be a better way, and the likes of Douglas County are showing that way. If they can do it, why can't we do it for all of New Zealand, a digital public library of New Zealand? Why stop there? Why don't we just have a digital public library? You've got to be able to change the way of redistributing revenue to authors and publishers, but mainly authors. There has to be mechanisms for micropayments or charging that are sustainable and fairly represent all participation's contribution to the end product. Why not have links to retail? So, we need to do it, and we need to do it now. Traditional type of hand-wringing approaches, or that it's all too big and too hard and we'll wave up our hands and leave it, is simply not going to cut it. And if we just keep on taking what we're giving, then nothing is going to be changed. That's simply not good enough. In New Zealand, we have a combination of factors coming together. I mentioned the time delay, that we've had that time for these teething problems to come out, and we've got a large geographical distance between us and those publishing headquarters. We've got better local government reforms high on the agenda in New Zealand, and the obvious focus on shared services. We have the Association of Public Libraries just released the Public Libraries of New Zealand Strategic Framework, and Ebooks is a priority action there. We've got LIANZA's focus on advocacy, formations of a digital content working group. The National Library is playing a leading role and has got the ear of Cabinet. We have the Frankfurt Book Fair coming up. We're the country of origin, National Year of Reading. I think that the stars are aligning down here, but we have a limited window of opportunity to act and make it happen. The qualifier to all of that is that there has to be progress and change from publishers, and it has to be fast. Otherwise, we're wasting our time and our money providing an inferior offering to our users and compromising our principles. If nothing happens soon in New Zealand, I suggest we have to go down the Douglas County way or something else and DIY it on a national scale. So what the hell? I'm aiming for the moon, but I'm not going alone. Thank you.
I didn't have to ding my glass at all. Does anyone have any questions for Paul? There's a microphone at the right there.
In the light of trans-Tasman relations, do you see any synergies in the thinking you've been doing, Paul, between an Australasian approach?
Yes. Surely bigger is better. It's got to work better for both of us to have that kind of scale, for sure.
The Douglas County solution was for public libraries in the States, I believe. I'm from an academic library. Do you know if any specialist publishers, for example, would be willing to work with academic titles, which are often far more specialist or siloed neatly by the big publishers?
Not really, no. My experience is firmly in the public library space, but you'd have to think so.
Hi, Paul. I'm interested in when you're thinking about that we need to do something together nationally, what sort of infrastructures or organisations you see as playing the key role in that? So is this something that you see sitting with something like EPIC, for instance, with Te Puna National Library, with APLM?
Any and all. Did I say the bigger the better? Everybody, yeah. New Zealand, that's New Zealand wide. To make it that much easier, makes it that much bigger. Yeah, whatever works really.
Hi, Paul. I might be going backwards here a little bit, but I'd like to know your future of the printed book and how long do you think it's got?
Plenty of time, I'd say. No fear there, I don't think. No, I'll be in the paperless office prediction camp with printed books, really.
Yeah.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Thanks, Paul. There was a bit of a sort of big picture and a bit of little picture when you talked about the bloggers and people that were doing things just off their own bat. Do you have suggestions that you think would be activities that people working on the front line in public libraries should be, if they were engaging in those activities, would help some of this bigger picture that you've talked about?
Well, putting it simply, you've got to do it yourself, take the responsibility and learn about this stuff for whatever opportunity that comes up. We've done our 247 E2 experts, so whether they know it or not, they've got a big responsibility to fan that out across their colleagues and the rest of the public library sector. But it's got to go across all levels, but individually you've got to take that responsibility yourself. Don't rely on dangerous self-educated experts like myself to figure it all out, because I certainly can't.
Yeah, so you've got Unite and Lobby up there as something that we need to be doing, but do you get a sense that there is a consensus amongst us all about how ebooks should be handled?
I think a lot more than when I started out on doing my first presentation at the start of the year. That was the one glaring thing, was that there was no common libraries position, and that was a serious threat. That if that was the case, then you'd simply just get picked off one by one, and the situations that suited the powers that be would continue. Somehow, whether it's and I think it needs to be more than just public library sector and just libraries, full stop. Every party is going to have to compromise, but you're going to have to come up with and say, this is our bottom line, now let's go.
So my follow-up question is, do you have a sense of what that bottom line is?
Good question, Chris. No, in one word.
Well, I did have a question myself as well, actually. Sorry, there's another one?
Yeah, hi Paul. I just had a question. I know you mentioned there about obviously advocating with publishers and trying to get them on board and things. There obviously has been in the last few years, like Tor Books was one of them, which has now made all theirs DRM free. Certainly I think maybe, I don't know, we need to try and get more of that. And I mean, certainly has, in terms of obviously public libraries, I guess, around the world, have they actually acknowledged that, or has there, I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen much about that in a way of acknowledging that publisher for what they've done. I think if there was more accolades and more support there, whether we might help encourage others along that same track, I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. I was meant to put a point like that in the presentation. Thank you, Kim. When I'm referring to publishers, maybe I could have rephrased that just to the big six. I read something the other day that the big six put out only about 50% of all content now, so there's a massive market of other publishers, indies, self-publishing that are producing material, maybe GRM-free, but with a much different range of restrictions there. So that's a whole other market that maybe has been underutilised and underexposed in libraries before that we need to include in all of this. And on the Tor front, as I understand it, they're under pressure from Hachette to re-implement DRM. So despite their obvious success, yeah.
The question I had was about the rejection of the concept of a national agreement for ebooks from the publishers, and it seems to me that it would make a lot of sense from a practical point of view that you only need one digital library. You don't need every public library in the country to be running a digital library. I presume there's a reason that the publishers aren't interested in a national agreement. Do you have any thoughts on what that is?
Yeah, the line I was given that was a publisher restriction. They didn't want a national license because then you might only buy one copy of a title for the whole country. So, and
right,
thereby they would lose sales, right? Yeah.
God forbid you should negotiate over something like that. Okay, are there any other questions? Right, well, sorry.
Hi, Paul. Are there any indications as to what types of books are selling in ebook configurations today, such as any categorisation or breakdown of the core
Romance,
categories?
paranormal romance, erotica.
Apart from Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
Kids' books, illustrative books?
No, I haven't really looked into that of late, really, no.
And the statistics you put up were, I think, last year's stats, is that correct?
No, that's month by month from launch in November last year.
Right.
It's August this year.
So similar growth the year before, I presume?
Yeah.
I'd be interested in the publishers too. I see some dissection on the categories of books that are mostly read, and also the types moving forward in terms of web metrics, the types of customers, and from where they're coming from, just to, how that's being read.
Big extra piece of work to be done there.
Yes,
for sure.
yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
The one down the back, Lucy.
Thanks. Sorry, I just wanted to make the point that because there's only a limited range of titles, any analysis of what's popular is going to be biased towards those titles. So you can't necessarily draw any firm conclusions from that. And what I hear when I talk to people, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm Brenda Chauner, I teach at the library school. When I ask people, tell me what's happening with ebooks, the first thing they all mention is not enough titles available. Mm-hmm. The popular stuff's not there. So I just like to add that as a caveat on the, we can't necessarily take too much from the statistics.
No, it's definitely skewing those statistics. The one thing we do know for certain about the types of people using novel is that the Far North District has been the runaway success story of our group, and you couldn't get a more socioeconomically deprived distributed region than there, and they're flying off the shelves there. Oh, yeah. We didn't quite dig that far, I don't think.